As bold as lions. As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
You're listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast.
Well, hello and welcome to the As Bold as Lions podcast. Great to have you on board. We are finishing up a series today, 4-part series that has been geared towards men, kind of multifaceted, the different phases or stages of life that we may find ourselves in as men, from going through high school and college and kind of finding direction in life to stepping into perhaps marriage and raising a family and building a career, to now finishing your race well, ending well, and kind of looking at those who are retired and elderly, gray hairs, I guess I would maybe say. And that's, I think having gray hair is a sign of wisdom and maturity. So that there's nothing, disparaging at all about that. So before we get started, just wanted to let folks know that, the rest of October, as this is, just taking us just into the first week of October, the rest of the month, I'm going to hit pause, and have a little bit of a break from the podcast. This kind of has been my rhythm throughout the past few years, and I don't even know if I need to repeat this every time October rolls around, but, yeah, we'll just resume in November, have some things to finish up. I'm not sure where we're going next, but we'll have something for November and December, probably kind of switching into Christmas holiday type stuff, and get some vision for where we're headed next, what to do next. Something I was going to mention here, and I should have made a note about it, but it was this. The podcast a lot of times follows the blog. There's a blog that I'll do for October. I haven't decided yet if I'll just kick that on to November and cover that for a week sometime in November or what. We'll see. But, for now, that's, if you're on my mailing list, you can go to DerekCharlesJohnson.com. You can get added to that so you don't miss any blogs, any devotionals, things like that. Keeps you in the know and hopefully just, keeps blessing you as you're, blessing you throughout your day, your week, your month. So, as we finish up here, we've had these last 3 weeks to look at this idea of raising the standard. We've covered these things of various age categories, kind of phases of life, seasons of life. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but we are, I guess, just kind of looking at these things that need a man's proper care and attention. Whether he's getting direction for his own life and just getting rooted and grounded, talked about putting that foundation in Christ, building that and really adhering to that, avoiding the trappings of the world. Whether it's then moving on to raising a family and being responsible, serving your home well. Avoiding sin, the things that we can fall into, not just making it all about you or about how big you can build that kingdom, that castle that you have. But how can you be looking outward more? And, we have to have through all this, just a foundation that is solid and the roots, go deep. Men, we are going to face many trials in this life. But to have that rock solid, unshakable belief in God, that trust in Jesus, you can then be used in purpose for many great things that can come out of a man who commits his path to the Lord. So this last segment of men, again, it's a broad category. A man maybe retires at 65 nowadays. I don't know how realistic that age is. We've always kind of had that as sort of the goal for retirement. But maybe it's 70. Maybe you don't retire at all. For some of us growing up, we're looking at that and saying, I don't know if retirement's gonna be a given for when I get there, but it's this it's this transition between having the family and all that at home and going to that 9-to-5 job, all of that, and then sort of stepping into a different phase of life that is towards the end of life. Now there's exceptions for sure. There's grandparents that are still in the process of raising kids for whatever reason that may be your role, that you're like, I'm still in both these phases because I have to step in and help with grandkids. I have to, maybe there's been a situation where a custody thing or, a daughter that is single and needs just extra help and support. And so we're in like that family career. We're kind of in that, but we want to be, in the retirement, we have to do both out of necessity. We have to take care of our family. So there is some blurring of all of this, for some folks, and that's understandable. And I think there's things that still apply here. No matter if you're completely moved on or you're kind of doing both. But, as we get to the end of what would be considered our employable days of our lives, that we're feeling like we're worked for the company or whatever, and got the Rolex watch at the end and all that, a man should not feel as if at that point, like that door closes, like there goes all your usefulness and all your contributions that you could possibly give. All that's done now. Like, quite the opposite. That's where I think a lot of things start to change in what you do then give back, and how you sort of repurpose what you're doing, and who your audience is, who your influence is, all of that. The older that I get, the more I find I'm coming to respect the wisdom and the direction that I get from the generations above me, those who I can just kind of sit at their feet and listen to them and hear what they've been through, hear what they've wrestled with, how they've navigated life's twists and turns. I have my own dad. I have my father-in-law. I have uncles I've met in my church. Sit on an elder team. There's people that, are speaking that are older than me, have much sage wisdom and advice. And so I'm finding myself looking for that more, because I know that I'm going to be in that phase too. And I need to kind of finish where I'm at here well, as a dad, as, husband of my family. And then as we move forward to empty nest and some of those things, like, it's not that far off. I can go back 20 years, 30 years and think of where I was in that first group. And now I'm here in the career family man group. But then you go 20, 25 years and you're in this last stage. Life is short. So, as we look at this from the perspective of the church and Christianity, there's definitely a different view that we have or should have. But I feel like society has kind of almost just forgotten the value of our older population. to some extent. We put aside all the technology we have, all the advancements we've made, whatever the latest and greatest craze, whoever's got their 15 minutes of fame going on right now. Those who have come before us, our forefathers, they have quote unquote inside information about life. And they can tell us more than what is on our iPhone screens or what's on the YouTube page or whatever. They have much to share with us if we can take the time to listen. And I think society has just blown right past it because we almost kind of keep chasing this fountain of youth and just keep going after that, knowing that there's a lot of recklessness and immaturity and just stupidity in youth. Youth is wasted on the young, is the phrase. And the older I get, the more I'm like, yes, it is. They and I know we all go through that phase. We all were in those shoes at one point. But to keep going back and finding wisdom, keep searching for it. So as an audience today, I want to address older men, those who are, again, retired and advanced in years. I desire any knowledge that you have to pass along. I need it. And speaking on behalf of society, we're desperate for it. We need it. Whether or not you see it on display or not, we need it. So our first point today, as we jump right in, is to this audience is to say, share what you've learned, successes, mistakes, and all. Share it all. Proverbs 24:16, for the righteous falls 7 times and rises again, but the wicked stumble in times of calamity. What I've touched on previously is the fact that as men, we don't always want to take advice, or we don't always want to admit when we're wrong. Definitely I touched on this after the introductory episode, and as we did the young single man episode, we touched on that, just that I want to figure this out. I want to, got the world on a string. I want to just go for it. But I think in every stage that men have that tendency. We're just hardwired that way of like rugged individualism, pioneer spirit. Like, let's just figure it out. And, the devil's in the details. Let's just go on and just, we'll ram it through somehow. I don't need to ask for directions. I'll figure it out for myself. Like when you're a guy that doesn't want to stop and ask, I'm just gonna keep going. And then you realize, somehow I got lost. Now I'm in a worse state than if I just would have taken that humble step and just said, where am I? Well, how do I get to where I need to go? There are so many more lessons that come out of the times when we fail and decide to get back up again. Lessons that come out of failure. Henry Ward Beecher is a quote, "Our best successes often come after our greatest disappointments." Our best successes often come after our greatest disappointments. That is some humbling truth that we need to admit, that there are things in life that we are going to go through that are going to be hard, but we are going to learn something from that, and it's going to make us a better person in Christ, because we were allowed to go through that. A man who is older, he's been down the path a time or two. He knows a lot more than the rest of us who have not been there yet, who have not gotten to that point yet. And the years of life experience that a 70 or 80-year-old man has are invaluable to someone like myself. I'm not looking to necessarily reinvent the wheel, figure out some whole new way to do something. I'm looking at somebody else who's successfully navigated the path and says, this is what you want to do here. Nope, you don't want to go there. You want to take this path, and just to follow in their footsteps. Whether that's parenting stuff, whether that's career decisions that you're making, whether that's marital issues, you name it, how to invest, how to plan for the future, what's the best place I need to go to fix my car? I've got this issue, like any of that stuff. Just pick a topic. We need godly Christian men to share their journey with us. And yeah, I'm talking about some stuff that's everyday practical stuff, but spiritually as well. I'm approaching life differently now that I'm in my 40s than differently than when I was in my 20s, and differently than when I was in my 30s. Like the 40s are kind of this, you know a lot, but you still see the holes in what you know, and there's some confidence to go forward with what you know, but you want to do it well. You want to finish well, and you want to get to that point of 70 or 80, knowing that you made some good decisions. You did some things right. There's certain things in life that, as I'm in this phase, they don't hold as much value or luster as they once did. But I'm finding other things, the family, leaving that legacy of faith, those things are the ones that really matter. And just speaking on behalf of men my age and younger, I would relish knowing that as a man ages, how does this continue to transition? What are the things that become less and less important? What do you focus on more as you get into that second half of life, or even the last quarter of life? What are the things that, that song just says, as the things of earth will grow strangely dim. That idea in Christ. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. The things of earth will grow strangely dim. How do we dim that light on the things that are kind of non-essential, and we get more of that? We even get there faster than just waiting till we hit this end of life. Like, how do I start to develop that frame of mind now? So that is where I'm leaning in and just saying, hey, older man, what are some of your successes? What are some of your failures? Just lay it on us and give us that wise advice through all of that. We need you to share with us what you have learned, and all of that keeping us focused on an eternal mindset of what awaits us. Our second point is, whether this is a reminder or this is just something to just charge you with, is to say, now is not the time to hang it up. Galatians 6 verse 9, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Now is not the time to hang it up. Repurposing our lives as we age and retire is something we don't always plan ahead for. And I'm not in this stage of life. I can't necessarily speak towards this directly, but as a man, I can sense, and just things that I've picked up upon as you age and you get to this stage, you may start to feel a bit adrift, and you're still looking for, like, what's my significance? What's my value? This is a quote. This is from an article. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's titled "Retirement Blues: Taking It Too Easy Can Be Hard on You." That's the article. This quote says, "Newly retired men face some typical difficulties. One is creating a new routine after leaving behind the 9-to-5 grind. So finding a new purpose, even how you spend your hours throughout the day, because you used to go to this job and you used to do this thing, and that was your value, that was your identity, that was a whole lot of your worth was wrapped up in that thing that you did, that thing you went to, you worked with your hands on or labored in. So a man looking for meaning in his life may find that now the retirement and end of life years are not as exciting as he thought they would be. But older men are still needed in every aspect of life, from the home to the church to the workplace, still the marketplace and beyond. Older man, now is not the time for you to hang things up. Now is not the time to just retire quietly and sit on the sidelines. We need you in our churches. We need you in various ministries, actively serving, leading. Need you teaching Bible studies, mentoring younger men. Let me underline that, mentoring younger men. We need older men still using their time to consult and give advice, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in ministry, somewhere else. So my point in all of that is to say, don't stop pouring out, and don't stop investing into others simply because you reach a certain age. Maybe the transition is enough to now I have time to actually do some of these things. Now this whole world's been opened up to me that I could barely spend much time in before, certainly to my kids, my grandkids, but even beyond that, where are their needs? Where are their needs in my community? Where are their needs in my neighborhood? What's my church doing? How do I use what I've been given? And you have something. I don't care who it is. You have something that you have knowledge, you have skills, you have something that somebody else needs to know about, and just glean, whether that's just hanging around with you, shadowing you. Just taking it from there. The value, the worth, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, they're still needed. And, you can still get to the golf course and get some time in there too, working on your swing. So don't worry about that. All right. The first point is to recap, share what you've learned, good and the bad. Now's not the time to hang it up. You're not supposed to quit yet. And finally, seeing you finish well inspires others to do the same. 2 Timothy 4 verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Over the years, we've had some just giants of the faith that have passed on. We've had just these almost larger than life figures that are no longer with us. Think of great men with platforms like Billy Graham. They've died. We celebrate their lives. They've lived for Jesus. They've told others about Jesus. And we trust that they've finished their race. They gained their inheritance. They stepped into glory. But even our personal lives, taking it down to, on the individual level, we have men and women who we've watched either in our families or in our churches, and they're now nearing the end of their journey, or they have already. What inspires me is that these heroes have kept the faith up until the very end, and it's a testimony of what God means to them. For those in the audience who are listening to this and are older men, you do not have to have lived a perfect life. There's only Jesus who can claim that. But you should live in a way that you point us to Christ and you inspire us to want to follow Jesus more. A man who comes to the end of his life may have some regrets. He may say, I wish I had done this or that. But if he's followed the Lord, he ultimately knows where he will spend eternity. And he has no regrets about that decision in his life, nor passing it along to his family. There's many in my generation and younger, they don't have a clue what that looks like as they think about end of life, if they're even thinking about it. Don't have a clue about heaven or hell or the afterlife, salvation, if any of those concepts are really real. I've talked about some influences on the culture, on the church, on biblical authority. We've had terms like deconstruction, things like that have come in and have caused us to question everything about the faith. So we need biblical teachers, especially older and seasoned teachers of the faith, guys who have been around the block and they've seen a few things, and they come in with spiritual authority, integrity, and a reminder of what we hold as truth, because truth is being attacked on a daily, regular basis. Seeing a man finish well with the full confidence of where he's headed, that he says, I've made this my trust and my assurance that Jesus is the only way, that when I die, I will be before him and I will be in his presence. If you don't know him, there's a real place called hell, and apart from Jesus, that's where we're going with our sin. To see a man that can finish his life that way, and to be at his funeral and to hear his, eulogy and the blessing of his life and all that he has impacted, that's a powerful testimony. That is an amazing thing. So seeing you finish well in that way, that's inspiring to the generations that come after you. And they so desperately need that. There's a quote from Billy Graham. I think it's fitting to end this series. And this is just something that stuck with me as I think about the passing of time and just the brevity of time, how we just have such a short window when we think about it, and especially in comparison to eternity and how long that time after we die is. He says, each of us is given the exact same amount of seconds, minutes, and hours per day as anyone else. The difference is how we redeem them. You cannot count your days, but you can make your days count. Whether we focus on the younger, middle, or ending years, the need to always make the most of each day remains true. We have this short life, and whether it's 100 years like the song that I mentioned in the first episode, or if we have far less than 100 years, we still have opportunities to raise a standard that speaks of life and truth. It's a standard nothing else in this world offers. As I've considered this series on the podcast, it's been a concern of mine to address men who listen, whether you're a regular or you're a newcomer to the podcast, to address the whole gamut. And any men that perhaps interact on social media, through email, whatever platform it's on. I think, and I believe just from just daily tracking of things, most of my followers are women. And honestly, that's fine. That's cool. For whatever reason, perhaps men are just not as engaged and tuned in on some of these platforms. Again, that's fine. But my heart has been to seek out men with the thought that as leaders in the home, leaders in the church, at jobs, and otherwise, we need to be men of spiritual depth and character. It starts young and continues throughout all of our years. So I hope this series has offered some wind in your sails and the encouragement to just keep going deeper in your walk. I love you guys. Would love to hear from you. Praying that you're blessed and just encouraging you to continue to raise the standard. And I'm excited about what the future holds as we continue on with As Bold as Lions. It's great to have feedback on these episodes, and it keeps giving me a glimpse and vision for where I need to go next. As we hit the pause button in October, no new episodes for the rest of the month, but a great time to go back and review the catalog, the library of podcasts. There may have been something that you've missed. Being I've been doing this for almost 2.5 years, 120 plus episodes. There's a lot to choose from. So I hope you'll find something that'll still keep you going. And to me, it's just a blessing that you would spend some time hanging out with me. We're going to close with our theme verse, Ephesians 5:15-17. As we always do, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Guys, take care. God bless. Have a great rest of the month, and we'll see you again soon. Hey guys, this is Derek Charles Johnson. You have been listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast. I am a blogger, a songwriter, an artist, and if you've been encouraged by this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and share, and head over to DerekCharlesJohnson.com for more encouraging content. God bless.